3 lifelong friends, 6 trusty balls, and endless NFL takes. Welcome to 3 Guys, 6 Balls NFL podcast.
Welcome back to 3 Guys, 6 Balls. This is episode 7. This week is the NFL draft, and we're excited to share with you our top 50 big board. We're going to be talking about some of the players on our big board this week. Before we get started today, we just want to give a shout out to Tim from Answer the Call. Avery just hopped on his live stream by accident with the invite link, so we just want to give him a quick shout out.
Love you, Tim. I was as surprised as you were.
Makes for a good story. And then you guys will be surprised. I don't actually have a trivia question for you today, but I do have a activity for you guys. I want you guys to rank these Ohio State receivers based on what they did at Ohio State. So the 5 guys are Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson. And you don't have to tell me why they're ranked in the order you rank them. Just rank them 1 through 5.
I'm putting Marvin at the top. I'm putting Egbuka right below. And then everyone else can fight over the scraps.
So I think it goes...
You have to say the name or it doesn't count.
Yeah, I know. This was a trick. I know it. As soon as you started in Ohio State receivers, like, this is a trick. You want to do something here. I see what's happening. I think it goes Marvin Harrison Jr., probably Chris Olave, Emeka Egbuka. Crushed it, by the way. Did I not crush it? Was that not right?
The last name was perfect. The first name was close.
I don't care. Who else was there?
Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Oh, I'm going to go Smith-Njigba and then Garrett Wilson.
Okay, so you had Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave, Egbuka, Smith-Njigba, and Wilson at the bottom?
Yes.
Okay, and Avery, what was your full list? I know you had Marvin Harrison Jr. and Egbuka second.
And Njigba and then the last guy. I know I made the rule where I had to say the name, but I already forgot the name. I fell into my own trap.
Well, I'm actually surprised that you guys ranked Egbuka as high as you did, because I asked a bunch of people in our social media group on Instagram to rank these guys, and Egbuka was frequently at the bottom. And so I thought you guys might have had a similar opinion. And I just feel like Emeka Egbuka is kind of like an underrated Ohio State receiver. So I'm actually surprised that you put him second, Avery, and Will, that you put him third. So I was actually hoping you would, because I was going to try and change your minds a little bit.
But they've already been changed because we're all right. Everyone on social media is wrong.
And I don't think I'm going to change your mind putting him over Marvin Harrison Jr. because I'm not going to put him over Marvin Harrison Jr. But I'll still go through these guys, and I'll tell you why I actually have him second as well, and I'll tell you why I think he should be second. So I think it's pretty clear that Marvin Harrison Jr. is the top guy on this list. He played at Ohio State in 2021, 2022, and 2023. He is one of 2 Ohio State receivers in history to have multiple 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Clearly, he's
how
best.
Many?
Multiple.
You say 2?
Multiple. 2, yes. He's one of 2 Ohio State receivers to have 2 1,000-yard receiving seasons.
Oh, my gosh. And they've got another one that's going to do it right now, Jeremiah Smith.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, okay, so Marvin Harrison is clearly the top guy. So then Garrett Wilson. I thought he would be higher than you guys ranked him. I thought he would be at the top. So I'm actually very surprised Will put him at the bottom. He played at Ohio State for 3 years, but he was never the number 1 wide receiver. He actually finished behind Chris Olave in 2019 and 2020. And then in 2021, he finished ahead of Olave, but he finished behind Jackson Smith-Njigba. And then Chris Olave, he finished as the number 1 wide receiver in 19 and 20, but then he was the number 3 receiver in 2021. And he actually never had a 1,000-yard receiving season while he was at Ohio State. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he finished with over 1,600 yards and was the number 1 receiver in 2021. So he finished over Olave and Wilson. But he only had 1 year of production because he didn't play much the year before that. And then in 2022, when he was hurt, only played, I think, like 1 game the whole season, had like 5 catches. I was going to use all that stuff to convince you why Emeka Egbuka should be ranked higher than them. But here is why Emeka Egbuka should be ranked second. He's actually the second receiver to have multiple 1,000-yard receiving seasons in Ohio State history. So it's Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. They're the only 2 guys.
That really surprises me. I feel like they throw the ball more than that.
Yeah, It is surprising. It is surprising. Like you said, they're probably going to have.
Oh no, what's his name was already gone. Elliott.
Oh, he got drafted.
That was like 15. That was so.
Yeah, that wasn't even close.
Everything after high school has just gone by really quick. Like, it's wild that he's already been in the league for like a decade.
Yeah, he's retirement age.
A few years ago where they just finished their rookie season. It's wild.
Some more fun facts about Emeka Egbuka. He actually is the all-time career reception leader in Ohio State history with 205. Ooh. And he is second all-time in receiving yards. Emeka Egbuka, I feel like, quietly had one of the best careers in Ohio State history for a wide receiver. He was never the number one guy, so I think that's why a lot of people rank him lower, is because he was never the number one receiver. Although in 2024, this last season, he did have more catches than Jeremiah Smith. I don't know if that makes him the number one wide receiver or not, because he didn't have more yards or touchdowns, but he did have more catches. And you'll see the reason why here in a little bit. I mean, I was going to ask you if any of that information changed your ranking, but Will, do you want to move him from 3 to 2?
I have the memory of a goldfish. I don't even know who I had at number 2 anymore.
You put Chris Olave.
No, I'm sticking with it.
Even though he never had a 1,000-yard season?
Listen, I forgot that. I don't remember anything. I don't know anything about anything.
That's fair. He did play with Justin Fields, so that's fair. To get into some of the strengths and weaknesses here for Emeka Egbuka, probably his biggest strength is, in my opinion, is his ability to run routes. I sat there and I literally watched hours of Emeka Egbuka running routes because I was so amazed with how he ran them. I could not stop watching him run routes because it was so great. So just an example, for anybody who knows what a hook route is, and if you don't, basically what it is you run about 10 yards and then you cut back to the inside part of the field, moving back towards the quarterback. He ran a hook route in a way that I've never seen anybody else run before. He has this ability to move defenders in ways that get him open, so he can manipulate the defenders and get them to move in the way that he wants to create space. So he runs this hook route, and for anybody who's ever played Madden, if you're running a hook route in Madden, basically the defender just stands there, and then as soon as you throw the ball, the defender can break on the ball. And half the time you throw an interception. So Emeka Egbuka in this situation, he sees the guy just standing there. So what he does to get around it is instead of just cutting back like you would traditionally in a hook, he goes behind the defender, gets the defender to turn his body, and then does an actual hook around the guy. Instead of just going like this and then cutting straight back, he does a literal hook around the defender and just gets the defender to just make that small turn and then runs back towards the quarterback and catches the ball. And then there was another route that I saw that I watched over and over again. This was the first game against Oregon, where it looks like, so he's playing in the slot. It looks like he's running a post route, but then he gets the defender to move in a way that the defender thinks he's running the post, and then he cuts inside and runs an in route instead and gets open for probably like an 8 or 9 yard catch. So he starts out looking like he's running one route, and then he ends up running another. And I could not stop watching him run routes because it was just so fantastic. I was enamored with the way he ran routes. I think he has the best he has the best route running ability of any receiver in this draft class, in my opinion. And it's not close.
So, notably, you have taken giant dumps on receivers in this draft class. Are you not doing that this time?
He's rescinding the dump.
Not with Egbuka. And the reason why he's ranked 32 on our big board is because I don't think he's going to be your wide receiver 1, because he played 65% of his snaps in the slot, and so he doesn't have – sorry, not 65% of his snaps in the slot. That's wrong. That's false. 65% of his catches were behind the line of scrimmage to 9 yards. That's the stat. So, but he does play primarily in the slot. I think his slot percentage was like 81%. And so he doesn't have a ton of experience as an outside receiver, so he's not going to be your 1, which is why if he's going to be drafted in the first round, it should be later in the first round. But I will say this. He is the best slot receiver in this draft by far. It's not close. And at some point in his career, he will be the best slot receiver in the NFL.
Wow.
Clip it, chat. Clip it.
It may not be year one. It may not be year two. But at some point in his career, Emeka Egbuka will be the best slot receiver in the NFL. His ability to run routes and get open in those short to mid-range areas is incredible. It's far ahead of any other receiver in this draft class.
And then will have to learn his name.
Yes.
There'll be no choice.
I'll just draft it on fantasy, and I won't care. I want that guy.
And I'm not, the reason why I've been low on these receivers in this draft is because I'm not super high on drafting wide receiver 2, and typically after you get past the first couple guys in the first round, you're drafting a wide receiver 2. But if you already have a wide receiver 1 and you're drafting towards the end of the first round, you got to take this guy. Yeah. I mean, even if you're the Bengals, honestly, like you already have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but I wouldn't draft him in the first round if I'm the Bengals. But if he's there in the second round and you can get him, put him in your offense. Your offense is unstoppable.
Sitting at the end of the first round, you've got the Bills, and you've got the Chiefs sitting right there at the end of the first round, and the Chiefs somehow always fail successfully.
Please don't say that. That's the one. If Emeka Egbuka goes to the Chiefs, it's over. He's already the best slot receiver in the NFL. It's year one if he goes to the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, great for them, but bad for the rest of us.
Now that you said it, it's going to happen.
Well, sorry.
Well, to get back to some of his other strengths, aside from his route running, which is fantastic, he has elite ball tracking skills, which comes from his baseball background. He used to be an outfielder. And so when the ball's in the air, he just has a great ability to track that ball and bring it in and adjust his body to bring in the ball. He, kind of as I mentioned with that hook route, he has a really good feel for working his way back to the quarterback and to the ball. So he doesn't just let the ball come to him, which a lot of times leads to incompletions and tipped passes, which then lead to interceptions. He goes and gets the ball. It's because he's running back towards it. Kind of just a thing that I liked personally because I like 2 feet in bounds, not 1 foot in bounds. He always gets 2 feet in bounds. He's great at getting 2 feet in bounds. So that was just a kind of a strength there for me, just because that's what I like personally. Some of his weaknesses, I guess, kind of like I mentioned, is he's not going to be your number 1 receiver because he's not going to play on the outside a whole lot. He's mostly a slot guy. And then he needs to be better at dealing with more physical defenders. But I don't think that's going to necessarily be a problem in the NFL because mostly when you're looking at physical defenders, you're not looking at the slot cover guy. You're looking at the outside guy. So I don't think that's necessarily going to be a big problem for him. But here's your chance, Will. So I think the Raiders are a good fit for him because you have Jacoby Myers on the outside. You have Brock Bowers as your tight end. You put him in the slot, and they need a wide receiver. So if he's there at the beginning of the second round and the Raiders want to take their shot at a wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka is perfect. So,
and they should definitely draft him over a Barber for Mark Davis.
I think Barber takes priority.
Barber for Mark Davis has got to be.
I don't think he's got a barber. I think somebody's cutting his hair. I wouldn't classify that as like a barber.
Well,
it's the water boy. The water boy is cutting his hair.
Honestly, it could be worse. He could be getting a perm, right? That's a popular hairstyle right now.
Yeah.
He could be getting a perm, so I don't know if that's worse, actually. It's not worse. I take it back. Don't get your hair permed.
You gonna tell the story?
No, I'm not.
Okay, we'll save that for later.
Anyways, to finish up with Emeka Egbuka, I mean, again, he quietly had one of the best careers in Ohio State history for a receiver. And, I mean, aside from Martin Harrison Jr., if he wasn't on this list, Emeka Egbuka would be at the top for me. I really like him. I think he's going to go early second round, potentially late first, just depending on how the board falls there. But he's worth it. Even if you pick him in the first round, he's worth it. You guys got anything else to add?
Well, I mean, he was so quiet because he's always had somebody else there. Although he had more receptions, he wasn't the guy making the big play at Ohio State this year. That went to Jeremiah Smith. Every time the ball touched Jeremiah Smith's hands, he was knocking people over and running forever. And so people didn't care about a 9-yard hook route running around the guy. People wanted to see the ball go deep to Jeremiah Smith. And so, just like Olave, right? You can just quietly be very good, and you get to the NFL, and you can still be. I mean, Olave, I don't think is bad in the NFL, and he's still quietly pretty good. He just is doing his thing, and he's just making it work. Egbuka is going to be the same way.
I agree. Yeah, I think Egbuka averaged like 12.5 yards per catch. I think that's right. So he's not like the super big play home run hitter, but he has the ability to get open in that short to mid range area more frequently than anybody else in this draft class.
I mean, if every time my receiver touches the ball, they're getting 12.5 yards,
I'll take that.
I think he'll take that every day.
Especially if he can create so much attention for himself in that part of the field, then that's going to take attention away from whoever your number one wide receiver is.
Right. And they will help feed each other. A strong number 2 feeds into a good number 1.
Exactly. All right. So let's get into Avery. Let's get into your first guy on our big board here.
Let's talk about Colston Loveland. This guy is essentially a receiver. He's basically just a big receiver that they've put at tight end. I like him. I think he's great. I think that's usually how I start off with most of these people. I like him, and I think he's great. The biggest thing about him is that he's just not big enough. And I think that's like the best problem to have if you're a 20-year-old going into the NFL draft. You're not big enough. It's like, okay, we can get you bigger. Because the big thing is that guy is better than most of their receivers at receiver. Not just like you're a better tight end than I am at receiver. It's like, no, I could outplay you at receiver. The big thing is like he's fast. He gets open. He can really, really haul in the ball. He's dropped a lot of passes, but when he catches it, he catches it. So part of this, it's kind of interesting because looking at this guy, you find these strengths, and then you also see, but you also have the weakness in that exact same category. So you have this guy, he's like, oh, dude, this guy, he can go up and grab it. He's also dropped a lot of balls. He's a big dude. Doesn't block very well. You know, he can go up and catch these contested passes better than anyone. He also doesn't get very many yards after the catch. So the way I'm seeing this is that he's from Idaho, too. Good old corn-fed or potato.
He looks boy. Like it. He looks like an Idaho boy.
He looks like he's from Blackfoot. That's a deep cut for the Mormon boys out there. I went to BYU, Idaho. Anyway. The big thing is just his size. As far as like being able to block and everything, that's not really his game. Part of it was because they needed him at receiver. He was always moving. He's rarely down there blocking. As far as, I think he's better than Tyler Warren. I would choose him above Tyler Warren.
Wow.
I think he would go, I would say somewhere between 10 and 16. I think there's a few teams in there that I think could grab him. In fact, honestly, if I was placing bets, I would say that both of them land within 10 and 16. Clip that, chat.
You're going to disappoint Tim. He's hoping to get him for the Chargers.
Oh. Yeah, what pick is that?
That would be the second time that you disappointed
22. Tim. Yeah. Sorry, Tim. Sorry. But no, I think honestly, if I had to give a ceiling projection for what I think he could be like, I think George Kittle is not off the table.
Wow.
I think with some true strength training, I think this guy can be great. I think the weaknesses that he has aren't inherent weaknesses. I think this can get coached out of him. And being a good old Idaho boy, I think he is teachable. I think he is coachable. I think he is learnable. Yeah.
Very good English.
I can't wait to hear what the stats are here.
Real quick before Joel jumps in, Tyler Warren, 104 receiving yards, or 104 receptions, 1,200 receiving yards. Colston Loveland, 56 receptions, 582 yards.
See, I don't even need stats. Will's got the stats.
I mean, if I'm looking for a receiving tight end, also, Warren, same height, 256. He's got, what is the math there? 6 pounds? He only has 6 pounds on him. So if you're talking about, he's undersized, but yet, I mean, they're basically the same size, Loveland and Warren.
They don't look it, though. Warren looks way bigger than Loveland.
Warren's much more of a bulldozer. Like that guy's gonna go out and play tight end. This guy, like I said, that's what I said at the beginning. This guy's essentially a receiver. Once he fills out his frame and learns to block the run, I think he could be a tight end.
Since I was talking about running routes with Emeka Egbuka, I'm going to continue that trend here. So I saw a route of Colston Loveland where he's going against a linebacker and he just stops in the middle of the field and then he does like a little spin and then he gets himself open because he was just faster than the linebacker. So he's got athleticism to match up very well against linebackers, and he's a pretty good route runner, honestly. Just something to note with him, too, is he did play 2024 with a shoulder injury. I don't know if that had anything to do with his stats being lower, but, he did play through it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he's got some toughness to him. Yeah, I think he's going to do really well against linebackers because he's just got that athletic ability and the ability to run routes better than they have the ability to cover routes.
And to put it in basketball terms, as I tend to do on these, I would say this is like rookie year Kevin Durant playing center. He's got the height. He could do it. He could probably block a lot of shots. That's probably not where you should use him best. But if you wanted to, just add some meat on the bones. I know Durant is religiously opposed to working out, but God has given him the tools to play at that position. I mean, obviously, he's not going to play center, but that's how I see him, is he can easily mismatch these linebackers. I mean, he's out there playing receiver with defenders that aren't corners. I mean, they're just linebackers. They're there to stop the run, stop some slower, heavier set tight ends, but that's just not him at the moment.
Yes, for everybody who remembers 2008 Kevin Durant, that one was for you. 2008.
Supersonics.
What does he weigh? What does Kevin Durant weigh?
Like a nickel?
132, 135? I'll bet I weigh more than he does.
Kevin Durant, guaranteed. I love you, Avery, but guaranteed. 240. Maybe not.
Oh, no.
240?
Okay, yeah.
Well, it's going to be 7 foot whatever. He has to weigh something.
I feel like every year he's 1 inch taller. He started at 6'8". And we're like, this guy is way taller. And then eventually, years later, it's like he's actually 6'11", but he kept telling us to say 6'9". And then it was he's actually 7 feet. I'm like, dude, what is going on with this? You're the one guy in the NBA that won't flex his height.
He's 35, but he's still getting taller somehow.
Yeah.
Like Avery said, God-given talent right there. You can't teach height. Can't teach height. And that's going to come up later. I'm going to say that again. I was saving that for later, but it came up right now. Shout out Kevin Durant.
Were you saving that for a prospect, Will?
Yes, I was.
Well, let's go into that prospect then.
All right. Well, actually, I'm not saving it for this prospect. I'm saving it for the other prospect, but here we are now.
Who's the other guy?
No, we're going with our top guys first. And so let's talk about the guy who we have actively not talked about, who everybody else wants to talk about, but none of us did. Travis Hunter. Yeah, I know. Travis, Michael, David, Andrew, Frederick, Hunter. None of that's real, except Travis and Hunter.
That was about the whitest name it could have been.
Okay, so where do we start here? Travis Hunter is a player who plays football, both offensively and...
Thank you for the classic line there, Will.
Both offensively and defensively.
They're going to build us a bingo card. All of our episodes are going to have bingo cards. Like, this is a football player that plays football. I'm going to say, I like this guy. I think he's great.
And
I got stats.
Yeah.
Basketball references.
You quit saying, here's the guy, so that's how they come off.
That's actually not a bad social media activity.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. So, where are my notes here? Okay, Travis Hunter. He's probably the best athlete in this entire draft. If he were to specialize in one or the other, which he refuses to do, which, understandable, I guess, he would be top 10 probably in either one, just because of his pure athleticism. At 6 foot tall, 188 pounds, he makes the plays. He does the right thing. I've got 17,000 pages open of things to scan through. Receiving yards. This is all corner stats.
No, those are boring.
It is boring. Receiving yards last year, he had 96 receptions, 1,258 yards, 15 receiving touchdowns. He had multiple games with 2 or more touchdowns. Most notably, he had 3 touchdowns in games against both North Dakota State, that powerhouse, which is an actual powerhouse, just not in Division I. And he also had 3 receiving touchdowns against Oklahoma State, which they beat them 52-0. So why did he still get 3 touchdowns? Who knows? His offensive efficiency, when he's running routes, incredibly efficient. In screens, 100% of his screen passes he caught. And it goes all the way down to his lowest percentage being the deep ball, which is not always the receiver's fault, but the deep ball, he was a 63.4% efficiency percentage of receptions. Most of the time, over half the time when the ball was coming his way, he was catching it and he was making the play. And that is evident if you just watch the game. It's incredibly evident. He's a very skilled route runner. He does the right thing a lot. The problem is that he's playing 120 snaps a game. He's playing both sides of the ball. And so he's not constantly, he's regularly taking plays off. Either they're sending him on a deep route to just give him a play off and he's half running it, or he's standing there on a screen route because he needs a couple plays off, or he's getting half effort plays so that way they can save him for defense. They utilized him and wanted him more on defense over offense. Now, the case was not to where they had a good enough offense to where they couldn't. The rushing stats for Colorado last year, they didn't have a single player rushing for over 400 yards. That's really bad. To not even have one single 400-yard rusher. They had 4,000 passing yards. So they threw the ball a lot. They had over 4,000 passing yards. Travis Hunter had, again, 1,200 of them. The next guy down wasn't even at 1,000 yards. So they utilized Travis significantly more than everybody else on offense, and it relied on him heavily on defense. He ended with 4 picks. He had 11 pass breakups last year. A good number of tackles for a corner. Again, at either one position, he would make a top 10 pick in the draft this year. His size is an issue because they're going to want him at number 1 receiver. He's going to be on the outside, and so these, unlike Egbuka, he's not going to get the benefit of playing the slot. He's going to have to be on the outside with the number 1 receiver, number 1 corner, and they're going to jam him because he's only 188 pounds. In the NFL, that's not a lot. And so when you have a bit of strength, you can just get pushed around. And he's just going to get pushed around for a while. You can even see it in college where he's facing these guys. He's just getting jammed. And once he gets jammed, because he has to conserve his energy, it's over. Okay, I'm jammed. The play's not going to me now. And so he needs to specialize. He needs to pick. He doesn't want to pick. I do believe in the NFL that they're going to make him pick. Also, he's going to be out here playing on a rookie contract that's predetermined, doing twice as much work as everybody else for the same amount of money. If he goes pick 4, pick 5, he's going to be making the same amount whether he's just a receiver or just a corner. But yet he wants to do both, twice the work for the same amount of money. Good deal if you can get it as the owners, but it's just not going to work. He should save that stuff for a second contract where he can make more money. I think he should specialize as a receiver, 8 to 10 plays on offense, doing what he has to do.
I'll just say, now that you mentioned the contract situation, I didn't even think about that. But think about Travis Hunter's attitude right now with, I'm going to quit football or whatever. Like, I have to play both ways or whatever. Can you imagine what he's going to be like when he gets paid a second contract? He's going to go full Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown.
It's not going to work. He's going to get hurt. He's going to stress his body too much every single year, and he's just going to get hurt. The human body cannot go through the amount of stress that it goes through in the NFL season and play both ways consistently. It just doesn't happen. There was regularly at Colorado, he was not practicing. He wouldn't go to practice, wouldn't attend. He would just miss it because they had to save him for both sides of the ball. Because again, when you're playing 120 snaps a game, you don't have a lot of extra physical ability left to be out there at practice, getting reps and doing all that. In the NFL, especially in your first year, you have got to create chemistry with your new quarterback, and so you have to be on the field getting reps and doing all of that. I hope in the pre-draft interviews, that these teams and the GMs and owners sat him down and said, what do you want to do as your main focus? And they're going to draft him accordingly.
Where do you guys think he's going to go? Because I've seen rumors recently that he's going to go to the Browns. And so I think they're kind of down to him and Abdul Carter. I don't think they should go Travis Hunter. But what do you guys think?
If they can convince him to go receiver, I don't think there's a problem with that. Now, they have no one to throw him the ball. If you go Travis Hunter for a receiver, you are not drafting him number 2 to have Kenny Pickett throw him the ball. You're not doing that. Yeah, that's what you're dealing with. If they do that, they're going to have to sell some of the farm, trade back up in the top 10, and get Shedeur Sanders.
And get Tyler Shuck.
Okay, well, they can wait until about 25 for that. But they'll have to trade back up in the top 10 to get Shedeur. And the amount that I don't want that to happen, it's almost turned into a Brady Belichick thing. Is Travis Hunter good? Or was Shedeur Sanders good at quarterback? Is Shedeur Sanders good at quarterback? Or is Travis Hunter making up for it? And so let's get them away from each other. Let's get them away from Dion, which sounds bad to get them away from. Let's get a good receiver away from a good quarterback. And let's get them both away from a good coach in college and see how they do it then. But it's almost like let's create some separation and see what they got.
Doesn't matter anyway. Jackson Dart's a better quarterback, so.
Yeah.
Just had to throw that in there.
I don't disagree. Avery, what do you think? Where does he go?
I can see it going either way. I could see him getting drafted like second or third. I don't want to say first. I could also see him dropping down to like bottom lottery or basketball, like mid round, a little lower. Like I would say above 20, but I could see him sliding. He's one of those guys where I'm like, I don't think he's any solid lock at any position. Like Abdul Carter is one of those guys where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like he'll be number 1 unless one team wants to, get the flashy player. Like his Abdul Carter's, value isn't in question. Whereas I feel like Travis's is, whether it's an attitude, whether it's playing both sides of the ball, whether it's different demands. I feel like a lot of players that come off of a lot of college accolades kind of have a little bit of a, I don't want to say a chip on their shoulder. It's almost the opposite. It's almost a little bit of entitlement. Like, hey, I won the last round, so I should come in here, I call the shots. I won the Heisman. So I don't know. I think it's the same with Shedeur. I think both of those guys, it kind of comes down to like, what's the last interview they had? What did they say last? And then, the fans react because they're kind of primetime, and then all the teams adjust. So I don't really know.
I really like him at both sides of the ball at either pick 4 or 5, the Patriots or Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he could fit offensively or defensively on either of those teams. As a number 2 receiver with Stephon Diggs, or even the number 1 over Stephon Diggs, I think that opens up a lot for both of them. And getting Trevor Lawrence some actual help in there, I think could be good. But that's if he plays receiver first, corner second.
I think actually that would be great for the Jaguars if they somehow could get Travis Hunter. Because when was the last time that anybody was excited about the Jaguars?
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah.
And how long is that? I mean, that's been several years now.
Yeah, 5.
I remember the excitement dying down before he even really ever played. I think it was just the draft.
Yeah, we got number 1
We
pick.
got
We're
him.
going to get sunshine.
Which is exactly my point.
Yeah.
Exactly my point. All right. Well, I'm going to get into my next guy here, which is linebacker from UCLA, Carson Schwesinger. He's ranked towards the bottom of our top 50, but he does deserve to be in the top 50. So this is a guy who started his career at UCLA as a walk-on. In 2022, he had 15 total tackles. 2023, he had 12 total tackles. And then in 2024, he had 136 total tackles. He led college football with 90 solo tackles in 2024. In 9 of his 12 games, and he only started 10 of those games, by the way. So he's a one-year starter. He started 10 games. In 9 of the 12 games he played in, he had double-digit tackles. It is worth noting with Carson Schwesinger that the UCLA offense was one of the absolute worst in college football. The UCLA offense only averaged 18.4 points per game, and they only scored more than 20 points 4 times in 12 games. So he was on the field a whole lot, which probably has something to do with him leading college football in tackles. But when he was on the field, he was incredibly effective. And he was pretty much the only guy on that defense who could actually do anything. He had 40 more solo tackles and 64 more total tackles than the next leading tackler on his team.
That's because he was hogging all the tackles, man. He's like, get out of my way. I'm tackling this guy first.
That's his, isn't...
That's a great thing if you can do that.
That's his job.
You can be a tackle hog. Fantastic.
That's right. So he actually led the team in sacks with 4 and tied for the lead in interceptions with 2 as well. This is kind of another guy where I watched hours of his tape. And the reason why I watched hours of his tape is because he reminds me of Sean Lee when he played for the Dallas Cowboys. And not a Sean Lee who was injured all the time, because he was injured frequently, but a Sean Lee, when he was healthy, he was one of the best linebackers in the NFL because he could quickly recognize where the ball was going, and he would just find the football. And that's what Carson Schwesinger does. When I watched him on tape, specifically when it comes to defending the run, as soon as the ball snapped, this guy knows where the ball is. Every single time. Every single time. It's like he almost knows like what the play is when it's a run play. He's pretty good in defending the pass, but specifically in zone coverage, he's not the best in man coverage because he's not incredibly fast, so he can't match up with running backs very well, and he does need to get stronger, so he doesn't match up with linebackers very well when he's in man-to-man. But in zone coverage, when he doesn't have to cover anybody specific, he can just stay in one general area. What he does is he just finds the football. So wherever the football goes, that's where he goes. So he's better in zone coverage than he is in man. But why I say he reminds me of Sean Lee is wherever the football is, Carson Schwesinger is there. He could be across the other side of the field when the play starts, and by the time the play ends, Carson Schwesinger is across the other side of the field making the tackle. Whether that's because he just ran faster than the other guy or because somebody else missed the tackle and he cleaned it up. He's always by the football. I could not stop watching him defend the run because it was incredible to me that he knew exactly what was happening every single time.
He sounds like Luke Kuechly a little bit. I mean, just that intelligence at the very least.
Yeah, I would compare his intelligence to Luke Kuechly, honestly. He's a bioengineering major, so he is very smart. He does have a very high football IQ. It's probably the best IQ out of all the linebackers in this draft, honestly. One play specifically that I want to mention, it wasn't a run play, but when he played against Nebraska, there was a play that I watched over and over and over again. And Nebraska was in the red zone. They were threatening to score. And there's motion. So a Nebraska guy goes in motion. Carson Schwesinger adjusts himself to that motion, so he moves. Dylan Raiola, the quarterback for Nebraska, looked confused as hell. He did not know what to do with the football, and Carson Schwesinger just blew up that play.
Right place, right time. That's what defense is all about.
Yeah, exactly. And it was almost like he knew exactly what the play was. He blew it up, and Dylan Raiola had no idea what to do. So another strength here for Carson Schwesinger, again, he was only a one-year starter, so the experience is a negative, but a strength is when he wasn't starting, he does have a lot of special teams experience, and he was very effective as a special teamer. I saw a play where he blocked a punt, so he does have that ability. So he can come in from day one and be a contributor on special teams.
The highest special teams grade in all of college football while he was there, 90.7.
Yes, so he's a very good special teams player, actually. So he's going to help a team from day one. I think I kind of mentioned it already, but he does need to get bigger. He's a little undersized for the position, so he's not typically what teams look for in a linebacker. And again, there's the man coverage thing, but overall, this guy is solid. He's rock solid. He doesn't miss tackles. He can recognize a play. He's incredibly smart. I would personally put him first, but I think collectively we have him second. Oh, and as the linebackers, if he goes in the first round, it's not going to be a reach. If he goes in the second round, it's an absolute steal. I would personally love it if Dallas got this guy because they do need linebacker help. I don't think he's going to be there because there's not very many good linebackers in this draft class, and so somebody's going to take a linebacker earlier than they should because of that. So I don't think he's going to be there in the second round when Dallas picks. But I think if he is, Dallas is going to say, hey, let's get this Sean Lee 2.0, and he's going to run our defense for the next 10 years.
Like you mentioned, so I actually watched quite a bit of his film as well. Like you mentioned, he's a walk-on, and he plays like a former walk-on, did earn a scholarship. but he plays like it. Right? Those guys have grit. They've kind of got a chip on their shoulder, and they play like a dog eating food in the pound. Right? Somebody's about to take this from me, so I'm going to get it right now, and that's great. But sometimes it's not. He's incredibly effective, very good. Just needs to be refined, and that's what the NFL is going to do. Is they're going to refine him. As you mentioned, 1-year starter. That's not a horrible thing, because he hasn't learned all the same bad habits that he can't be trained out of, and so he's going to get into the league, and you're going to take this athlete. And I was saying something completely different with Shamar Stewart. Man, this guy is raw, and he's an absolute athlete. But I don't know if he's ever going to get it. It's completely different with Carson. He is raw and an athlete, and he wants to get it. You can see it when he plays. He wants to get it. Last year, he had 59 snaps where he was rushing the quarterback. Sorry if I'm stealing your thunder here. 59 snaps where he was rushing the quarterback. In those 59 snaps, he had 4 sacks and 15 QB pressures. Incredibly efficient while he's getting to the quarterback. He does not get off blocks well. Once he gets washed out, bigger linemen just eat him up, and it's just over for him. He can't shed the block well, and sometimes he gets too deep on run plays to where he takes himself out of the play, but he's always in the right spot initially. He might just overextend himself, but that can all be coached. That kind of stuff can be coached, unlike height, which cannot be coached. And honestly, football IQ is something that cannot really be coached. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah, I agree. I think to counter his weakness of not getting off blocks well is with his play recognition, which he does extremely well, where he gets to the ball before he gets blocked. This guy, if he can already be effective, you can see he can be effective with players on defense that don't do much, because he was really the only guy on that defense who could do anything.
Right.
But if you put him on a defense, like, could you imagine like this guy on like the Ravens or the Steelers defense, like, where he's got other guys, like if you put him on the Steelers defense and you've got Watt right next to you to not only teach you, but like be a guy who's getting all the attention, Carson Schwesinger is going to thrive.
Yeah. He led all major conferences with a 90% pass rushing efficiency grade.
I like this. I like how Will's throwing out the stats. I like that.
You guys missed the biggest part. The one thing he does better, or has better, than everyone else in the draft.
Go on.
He's got the best hair in the entire draft. I'm convinced that even though he's got a helmet on, it's helping make him more aerodynamic. I think it transcends helmets. That's what I think. I mean, everything I've seen of him, every picture, rocking. Like he's got a stylist with him.
Is it Mark Davis' stylist?
No, but Mark Davis should hire that same guy. The Raiders, you're right. Good point, Joe. The Raiders need to draft Carson Schwesinger.
Yeah.
That way.
Just keep him around Mark Davis.
Yes.
And he'll be like, look, I know that was my childhood and I was bullied endlessly and I decided to keep it going, but this guy, Caleb, oh my gosh, his hair, it looks animated. It's Disney Pixar. Like you can see the locks like
it
together.
Is Disney Pixar.
I'm so distracted by it. It's like, thank goodness that football players wear helmets. Like every player would just be like, oh my gosh.
All right, well there you have it. Best hair in the draft.
I really like Carson going. If he does end up in the late second round, I love him to Washington. Get him in Dan Quinn's hands and let Dan Quinn develop him.
Dan Quinn would do dirty things with Carson Schwesinger.
Careful, we're talking about Washington, and we are not far enough away from that. Anyway, if he does make it to the end of the second round, I really love him. I love him in Washington. Or if we make it to halfway to the second round, the Bengals, I think he would do wonders in that Bengals defense.
Yes, absolutely. They need defense.
Anorexic.
What are you trying to say right now?
The Bengals defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo. There it is. Yeah, Lou Anarumo. He would take him and do the same dirty things Dan Quinn would. Just mold him into an absolute Adonis.
Rub his fingers through his luscious locks.
Dude, who wouldn't?
All right, Will, take us through your next guy.
All right, Avery, take us through your next guy.
I can do this quick, too. Trey Harris. I think that the fact that he's on our board, on our 50 board, and towards the bottom, I was thinking, I don't know if he should be there. Seeing where he's ranked, ranked to be drafted, second or third round. I think this guy's awesome. I like him a lot. He's a great guy. He also plays football. The thing is, what would you guys say if there's a receiver coming out of college, played their senior year, whatever? What's a solid amount of yards to come out if you want to be drafted in the top 3 rounds?
You're talking career or last year?
In a season.
1,000 or so?
Okay. He had 1,000.
800.
He also only played half the season.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he only played 8 games.
He had 7 touchdowns and 1,000 yards in 8 games. I think that's the biggest reason why he's a little further down. Also, very injury prone, and it's kind of the issue. I've seen a lot of people compare him to DK Metcalf. I don't know if it's just because they both went to Mississippi or what, because he's not the same size, and I think it's not great to compare him to DK when, DK is a man amongst men.
He's just jacked.
He's 2 inches shorter, but he can get bigger. The thing is that he just plays very physically. He's very, very good. The thing is, he can get injured sometimes. He's not the fastest, meaning if he's got the ball running down the field, he'll get caught most of the time. Breaking tackles isn't as he really exposed bad teams. I think he had 2 games where they played teams that weren't great, and each game he just 2 touchdowns, 200 plus yards, tons of broken tackles, 70-yard gains. That being said, I think that will lose my notes.
Oh no.
I remember when you said that, I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm better than that or whatever. Yeah, really? No, I think everything's getting moved around. I'm still having flashbacks from joining that last guy's podcast and making sure, because I've got 50 tabs open, and 3 of them were the tabs that were still broadcasting myself back to him, even though I had ended the call.
That's so awesome that you did that.
Gosh. Yeah, but anyways, I think this guy's great. I think he's being slept on just because mainly he was just out for most of the season. The fact that he's still got 1,000 yards blows my mind, honestly. Had Jackson Dart throwing to him, so maybe it's more about the quarterback and not the receiver. Either way, one of these 2 guys is great. But I actually like his spot in our big board. I think he's around he's at the bottom, 47. He's in the 40s somewhere. But I think he's a little higher on our board than he is on most other people's. But I think he's one of those receivers that has had some things happen to him. I think the injury issue and then having missed a lot of the season puts a lot of question marks on him. But I think that if a team needs a receiver and he's on the board and it's not too early, I think it would be a safer risk to draft him.
All right, Will, give us some stats.
Oh, I got nothing.
I
was counting on you.
I would have been blown away if you somehow had stats right there.
I got not a thing.
All right, Avery, I got a question for you. So what do you think about this? So one of the guys at Shovik Sports, who we're going on with on Wednesday, by the time you're listening to this, we'll probably actually be live with them. He actually ranks Trey Harris as the top wide receiver in the draft.
Ooh.
What do you think about that?
I think there's too many question marks. I think that I think he's one of the riskier receivers in the draft. I think it's kind of on the razor's edge. This guy could get in, immediately get hurt, Greg Oden style, come back a year later, play 5 minutes, get hurt again. It's just one of those things where there's too many question marks. And I like some of these safer players. Like I said, Abdul Carter's one of those safe players. It's this guy's just solid. And I think this guy is one of those dudes. He's slipped down a little bit, just like some of these other. The previous week, we were talking about some lower end guys, and I think those are all guys that are kind of in this same boat. They're guys that hey, there's some really nice things with these dudes, but you got this guy, this center who's playing guard, who is incredible, yet he's 5'5". He's not 5'5". He's very short though. And it's one of those things where it's hey. He's got the goods because he's proven he's got the goods, but he doesn't look like he's got the goods. So it's one of those things where it's kind of you have to decide, and it's really only time will tell. And I think this is one of those where it's hey, you could come in, you could absolutely blow it away. I know another basketball thing. I know plenty of guys in college that were injury prone the whole time, get to the NBA, suddenly they're invincible. And so, and whereas I think that most of the time in the pros, like if you had an injury problem in college, like you're going to have an injury problem in the pros. But yeah, I don't know if I'd put him at the top. No, actually, I know I just spent like 3 minutes just saying he's not towards the top. I still think it's a risky plan to get him, but he might be higher. I might have to look into that. Because we've already kind of established that we're not super high on any of those other receivers. I mean, like Golden's, like he's got, I would say, question marks all the same.
Well, it's not even necessary. It's not even necessarily that we're not high on them. It's just that they're not like, wide receiver ones. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna look back at that. Clip that chat. I'm gonna review that.
All right, Will, take us through your next guy.
So, in the interest of pure honesty, I spent about an hour or more researching Carson Schwesinger because I thought I was doing Carson Schwesinger, and that is not the case.
Yeah, you bring the heat with that, dude. I was like, dang.
I was ready.
I was very impressed.
All right, pass me the mic one more time, and I'll take it off Josh Simmons style.
All right, Will, take us through your next guy.
All right, so for the first time on this show, we are going to talk about an offensive lineman. So it's only fitting that I do it, right? Look at me, look at these guys. Only one of us played offensive line regularly.
I did it last week.
Okay, well, I think that's
But
different.
I didn't do it well. So this time we'll get it done properly.
He got hurt after one play.
That checks out. So did Josh Simmons. Not quite one play, but he did get hurt in the Oregon game in October. Offensive tackle Ohio State, got hurt in October, season-ending injury, and that is the reason this guy has moved down the draft so far. I think he's near the bottom of our top 50. And at 6'5", 317 pounds, played 4 years in college, not all four at Ohio State, was at San Diego State and transferred to Ohio State and immediately became a starter when he was there. He is a guy that you want. If he's healthy, he is a guy you want anchoring your left side. He's very smooth getting out of his stance. He's got rapid-fire quickness. His strength is a bit of an issue, I guess. Everyone says it's average, which average strength for a 317-pound man is abundant strength for the average human. So I don't know who these suits and ties are. So I don't know.
It's not even average strength for a 6'5", 315-pound man. We're talking in college football, in like cream of the crop.
Right.
Average strength.
He benched 34 times. That's 225 pounds, 34 times. And we're saying he's got average strength. All right, get over yourself. Anyway, the big question mark is that he didn't start at college in a big program, so he wasn't going up against top talent. And when he went to Ohio State, he got hurt in October. And he was out the entire year. And there's no real knowledge of when he's actually going to be back. They think he's going to be back next year, but when you're starting your career as an offensive lineman with a knee injury in the NFL, it's not going to get better. But these guys out there, they show up without knee injuries and still have these gigantic knee braces on that have got to be special crafted from somewhere, because those guys' legs are huge. And so they show up with knee braces on, not because they have injuries, but to prevent them. So when you show up with it already there, it does become a problem. He's probably not going to be a day one starter in the NFL. He has a tendency to get caught on stunts and twists, which that's all they're doing in the NFL on the offensive line, is their consistent movement because, again, this is going to have a bingo card, the offense cheats. They constantly cheat. Those offensive linemen know where they're supposed to be at, where they're supposed to stand, and who they're supposed to block. Those defensive linemen have no idea where the play is going, where the ball is going, and so they're out there. The offensive line knows right where to step to cut him off, and he does the cut off well. But the problem is, if you go to cut somebody off and they're not there, and somebody twists and blindsides you, ear holes you, it's not great. And so he could definitely use some more experience getting that. But that's not to say you can't earn that on the field. It's just hard to throw somebody out there to protect the blind side and be susceptible easily like that. Not a lot of things to say, not a lot of additional things to say about offensive linemen. We only got 6 games with them last year. but he can be a guy. He can be an anchor piece for sure on an offensive line for years moving forward, so long as he can stay healthy.
He didn't allow a sack in those 6 games,
Not a single sack.
so that's
But-
positive.
But again, you're working with a small sample size. He also, because this is important, because of the excessive amount of Joshes, he goes by Jimmy.
That's exactly why he's ranked in our top 50.
Just changed his name, just because there were too many Joshes.
I don't even think Trey Harris's name is even Trey. They just call him Trey because he's
No,
the
'cause-
third.
Because there was too many Joshes, so he goes by Trey.
It's gotta be it.
That'd be it.
One other thing with Josh Simmons, he played right tackle at San Diego State, and then he played left tackle at Ohio State, so he can play both sides of the line. So just something to know because he has some versatility there. And also in 2023, he only allowed 1 sack.
I could see a team bringing him in his rookie year, so long as he's healthy, putting him at right tackle, getting him that experience, getting him that this is how you play in the big leagues experience, and then moving him to left tackle a year or two in.
Well, before we end here, Will, I want to say I think we should change your phrase. I think we should change it to the offense cheats unless you're Carson Schwesinger.
That's not true. Significant amount of penalties. He was an incredibly penalized offensive lineman. Incredibly penalized. And so he's going to have to get that down. And when you're getting penalties, that means you're cheating. So wait a minute. You said Schwesinger.
Yes,
I
did.
am an idiot. That guy's good.
I said the offense cheats unless you're Carson Schwesinger.
You're right. That guy's beating you to the spot. You are
Yes.
right.
Yes. Well, again, the NFL draft is coming up. It's going to be exciting, so we will see how it all plays out. We're going to talk about the winners and losers of the NFL draft next week, so stay tuned for that. And as always, don't forget to keep your balls played with. We'll see you next time.